What, of course, now we have found out, because every time the government tries to do something, it makes everything worse. The Restrict Act is deeply, deeply dangerous. It is not just about keeping TikTok off your phone. It actually is about controlling you basically at every possible level. Here is my friend David Sachs on the All In podcast explaining the full effect of this, in essence, legalized tyranny that they're going through with the Restrict Act.
I think this is the biggest bait and switch that Washington, the central government, has ever tried to pull on us. Everybody thinks that they're just trying to ban TikTok from operating in the US. And if that's all they did, then I think the bill would be supported by most Americans. But that's not what they're doing. They're not restricting TikTok. They're restricting us.
That's not the goal here. Yeah. What a bait and switch.
It's a huge bait and switch. And so just so you know, what the act provides is that a US citizen using a VPN to access TikTok could theoretically be subjected to a maximum penalty of $1 million in fines or 20 years in prison or both. Now, they'll say, Mark Warner, the sponsor of the legislation, will swear up and down that's not the intent. But the problem is that the language of the bill is so vague that some clever prosecutor may want to pursue this theory one day, and that needs to be stopped. Also, there's another problem with the bill, which is you think this is just about TikTok. It's not. What they do is, it says here, I guess they don't want to mention TikTok by name, so they're trying to create a category of threatening application. But because it is a category, it's very, very broad. So the bill states that it covers any transaction, not just an app, in which an entity described in subparagraph B has any interest. And then entities described in subparagraph B are, quote, a foreign adversary, an entity subject to the jurisdiction of or organized under the laws of a foreign adversary, an entity owned, directed, or controlled by either of these. And then it gives the executive branch the power to name a foreign adversary, any foreign government regime that one of the cabinet secretaries defines, without any vote of Congress.
We have this sort of roughly right idea that we should get TikTok off Americans' phones because it's Chinese spyware, and certainly off young people's phones. There's a whole other reason for that because of what they're pushing with all the trans nonsense and everything else, where they don't push that on TikTok in China. In China, they have these kids doing these incredible mathematical equations and all of this science and everything else. That's what they push to their own people, but to us, it's all about, the gender craziness and everything else. That's one thing. What David's really referring to there is that within the language, it basically is saying any communication that you have, any commerce that you do with anyone, once someone in the government is like, well, we don't like that company because maybe they weren't doing enough for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we're going to label them an enemy, they will be able to come for you. You understand that? They will be able to look at your phone, see who you're texting, who you're sending money to, what websites you're going to. And again, and this is where a certain set of not very bright people always say, well, if I'm not doing anything wrong, if I'm not doing anything legal, well, then I have nothing to worry about. First off, they will find something. You know what I mean? They will make it up. And what is socially normed today will be dangerous tomorrow. That's how the whole thing works.